本当の僕を知らない奴に何を言われても構わないけど君を傷つける全ては許さない Just keep comes alive decide
Shalom and good day all, this is Healing29 back again to cover episodes 5 and 6 of Blue Exorcist Season 3. And what I'll do is I'll cover the episode title as well as the synopsis for the episode. And after I give my synopsis for each episode, I'll also give my review of each episode and also some of the things that happen in the episode. So, as I've just finished watching episode 5, it is titled Destiny, to which this takes place after every branch of the Knight of the True Cross have been attacked from the character of Lucifer. And as we move into the next episode, we move to the characters of the X-Wires, consisting of Yukio, Shimi, Ryuji, Takara, and many of the others that make up the Cram class that are in Blue Exorcist, along with Yukio, sort of like who's placed at the head of this particular event, to which they are now sort of like set on a plane trip, and we get to see this is Rin's like first time on a plane, and we get to see some of the things that he goes through whilst on the plane. And whilst they're going to find where Izumo is, Kamiki Izumo, they also get the help of the character Takara, to which with their help, or with his help and work in finding where Izumo is, they end up going to a fox themed theme park of sorts, to which they now have to pretty much have a bit of a observation of the area and try to work out where Kamiki Izumo is. Whilst this is occurring, we do get to see events which is happening with Izumo. We do see it at the beginning of this particular episode, and also a little bit towards the middle and the end. And we get to see a bit of a discussion between... first we get to see her sort of like in a hospital bed. And a little bit further on, we still see her in a hospital bed, but we do end up meeting her up with the Illuminati traitor, being Renzo Shima, and she wants to find out why he did what he did. And whilst this is occurring, she also realizes that by her own actions, she has somewhat betrayed her friends. So how she has sort of like become a traitor in her own way, as we reach towards the end of the episode. So with the next episode, it's called I Can't Rely on Anyone, to which we have Takara, who is seen in like the last couple of episodes. He also summons a familiar, being a fox god, to talk about Izumo's past. And whilst this also happens at towards the end of the first episode, it begins the next episode, to which we start to learn more in regards to Kamiki's past and what she actually went through. And a lot of this is in fact manga accurate, because we are going to get some scenes sort of like later on, to which we get to see the X-Wires fight again against the bad guys. But there is going to be more happening in regards to the Illuminati arc. I can't give away manga spoilers because I have read the manga around this particular arc and also what's occurring. So as we start to move into the first 5 minutes of the episode, we get a bit of a as we start to see some of the history around Izumo Kamiki. We learn that her mother can be quite lazy and leaves a lot of the chores to be done by the summoned foxes that are in the house and somewhat treated like a bit of a spoiled brat. But when someone speaks ill of her, she gets highly upset. And yes, even her own daughter calls her out. As this is occurring, we do get to experience some of her elementary life in her schooling. We also learn a little bit more around the Inari household, or the White Fox household, in regards to a certain stone, and with her mother also being a particular priestess to the shrine. She too has the ability to sort of like summon fox familiars, and we also learn a bit about a particular killing stone, to which in some cases, though it can also take life, it can also give life. As we begin to pass the next 5 minutes in relation to this particular story, we end up seeing Izumo get a visit from Dr. Godoying, who is a member of the Illuminati, and at the time she doesn't quite understand why they're there, and we also meet another character by the name, I think it's Maria Yoshida, who also sort of like tries to imply that yes, she had some troubles of her own when younger, sort of like when trying to relate with Izumo, to sort of like try to understand a little bit more. And with this, they do seem to extract some information out of Izumo in relation to the killing stone that only the Kamiki family household or the family bloodline is able to use. Whilst this is occurring, Tamano, who is Izumo's mother, ends up catching up with her husband, Soji, but we learn that Soji doesn't want anything to do with basically the kids at all. So basically, he doesn't really care about Izumo or Sukuma, I think it is, her younger sister. And the only thing he sort of cares about is sort of like the wife, being Tamano. Whilst things sort of like continue to lead on, we catch up with Izumo catching up with her mother about to leave the house, as she has also sort of learnt that Soji has plans on sort of like turning the location into a bit of a park, and this sort of like gives us the origin of the park that we see in the present that was seen in the last episode. As we start to move into the next 5 minutes of this particular story, we realize that during this time of which the story is being told to the XYs, we see that Kamiki Izumo has finally informed the Illuminati about her mother's condition, which in her mother's condition, she ends up blaming her kids for her husband turning cold, but she doesn't realize that the kids are innocent in regards to this particular situation. Whilst this is occurring, she ends up summoning the fox spirit, or the white fox, or the nine-tailed fox spirit, to basically completely possess her. Whilst this is still happening. We have priests coming to the situation only to see that there's quite a bit of bloodshed. And it's not long after that Dr. Godoyne returns, bringing him to a facility, and we learn that through these members of the Illuminati, who are sort of like playing as undercover True Cross exorcists within the story, is that they do have underlying evil means planned to cause and do more harm. They do manage to free or attempt to free Izumo's mother, Tamano, of the demonic spirit or of the fox spirit. But now he plans on doing more experiments involving Izumo and Tsukumo, her sister. And she learns this through one of the Illuminati exorcists that are there. So as we start the movie into the last 5+ minutes of the episode, we end up seeing the character known as Ms. Yoshida trying to help Kamiki Izumo escape from the facility, only to realize that she is in a way discovered as a traitor within the facility by Dr. Godoyne, to which he basically fronts up, tells the audience that he works for Lucifer in the story, and we also see Maria Yoshida somewhat reciting their creed, but also whilst trying to seek forgiveness. We see that Dr. Godoyne in the story is not forgiving in any way, shape, or form. To which we do get to see Izumo's mother on a screen, and we see that how she's still taken over by the Nine-Tails, or the Nine-Tailed Fox, to which in this time period we see that he wants her to sort of like try to make an agreement with her, to which she's sort of like put in a position which is against her will, and sort of like has to somewhat succumb to it, but on grounds that her younger sister isn't harmed. And that pretty much leaves the end of the story for episodes 5 and 6. So moving into the next thing is the area of my afterthoughts in regards to these episodes. So first things first, it's really nice to see how close to the manga this story is keeping to the story. Not only that, it's also really good to see where other characters are getting a bit of spotlight in the story. In this particular arc, we will start to get a little bit more spotlight on the character of Izumo, to which we are learning about her and her family, where in season 2 we sort of learned more about Ryuji and also Koneko, and whilst in this season we are starting to see how Izumo is reacting to the situation after her capture, whilst we have seen her show that she can be quite capable when the situation when she is needed in the situation. In this, we are seeing a vulnerability with the character, and this is something that I definitely give credit to the creator of this story, who is called Kazukato. Do not forget that name, as she is the one who writes the Blue Exorcist series, and I must admit, for a lot of modern day stories, or a lot of modern present stories, one thing that we do lack in seeing is sort of like seeing characters that are vulnerable, especially female characters, and we are actually seeing it in this situation, to which, yes, it's amazing in the manga, but it's also amazing to see it take place in the anime, because when you get to, say, a lot of comic stories these days, very rarely do you see female characters be brought in a vulnerable situation to which they do and will need help from others, whether these others be male, female, or even just a group of friends just to be by their side to help save them out of a situation. And the fact that she got to speak up to Renzo Shima in the previous episode, so in episode 5, and then what is occurring in episode 6, to which we see the harm that her mother, instead of like being obsessed with wanting to appease her husband, who really doesn't give a crap about her or the kids, no doubt you can see some self-centeredness with these characters that you can definitely see played out on the screen, but there's also selflessness happening with other characters within the story, as of course they go to find and work out where she is so that they can save her. But also we learn of Izumo's own selflessness when it comes to the area of her sister. For that, I must say congrats and well done in adapting this part of the manga to the anime. Next is the area of the rating. So, moving into the area of the main characters, I give an 8 out of 10, as I actually enjoyed what they did with the main characters within these last 2 episodes. Next is the supporting characters. I think for this, the supporting characters really shone a little bit more than the main characters, but there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm glad it did, because in technicality, Izumo is basically, yes, she is being put in the spotlight. So we have the story now focusing on her, so she becomes the main part of the story, but she is also a supporting character in the X-Wires, to which I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the soundtrack, and I must admit I have really enjoyed the soundtrack and what they've done so far with this, an 8 out of 10. The animation has been quite good. I haven't seen a lot of, there really isn't a lot of sort of like repetitive animation, which is really good, and that holds consistent with the story too. And for that, I give it an 8.5 out of 10, and I think that's probably might be one of my highest ratings for some animation like this. And last but not least, in relation to the area of the story, I also give it an 8 out of 10, but it is subject to change as we start to reach closer towards the end of the series. So until then, let's keep it colorful and have yourself an awesome day.
本当の僕を知らないやつに何を言われても構わないけど君を傷つける全ては許さない Just keep on the light Decide かけ離れてる to say Your side 止まらない距離感と日々 Get try 絶対誰かが描いた君どこを探したってそれはいないもうだいぶ心はもう思い通り動かない けど君を傷つける全ては許さない遥か遠くで誰かが君の見方を間違えた時さえその